Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Cocktails in the War Room. I am your host, Mistress Carrie. Welcome to my war room and welcome to episode 173 of Cocktails in the War Room. It doesn't seem possible, but it totally is. And before I can even start the show, guess who has joined us? If you're new to the War Room, you got to let us know in the comments that you're joining us in the War Room for the first time. And you also say hi to everybody up here Wednesday. See him up there? And you also got to let us know where you're watching the show from. If you are not familiar with the War Room, allow me to introduce you to my cohort, my co-host. Hold on, Wednesday. There you go. This is my co-host, Wednesday, the Goth Pug. That is her handle on Instagram, where she is getting close to breaking the 1,000 follower mark on Instagram. So if you have an IG account and you're not following Wednesday yet, please do that, so that we can get her to the 1,000 follower mark. What's up, Mark? Lisa, Michelle is here. Tracy Hines is here. Elsa, Paula is here. Donna, Alexis, Lainey joining us. Linda is here. Annette. Thank you guys for joining me in the War Room. It's been a long day today. I'll explain to you exactly what got me up so early this morning. Is this what you want? Wednesday brought her favorite. We were setting up the War Room. And Wednesday came in and sat down on the green couch just like that and stared at me for the last 20 minutes. She has been ready for her close-up for quite some time. So Christina's here. What's going on? Shannon, Monica, Heather, Richard joining us. Michael is here. Jen joining us. Jeff is here. David. So welcome. Thank you guys for hanging out with me each and every Tuesday night. I can't believe it's 173 episodes already. And I have earned this drink, so I'm kicking it off early. You know what the copper mug means? That means Moscow Mules. I have a different drinking apparatus for whatever cocktail I'm in the mood for here in the War Room. And I also want to put a quick plug in. If you're new to the War Room, go to mistresscarrie.com, go to the blog, find the first post in my blog, and it's something called the Dictionary, which is all of the glossary terms, inside jokes, and shorthand of the War Room, so that you'll be in on all the inside jokes on the show. We make a lot of references. Speaking of that, Wednesday, can you sit? You're sitting on your favorite. That's her favorite toy, that fluffy black ball that she carries it everywhere. That is her pacifier. Sit down. Can I have your down? Sit. High five. Thank you. Good girl. Back up. Back up. Down. Down. Stop looking at the cookie. Good girl. Okay. So I was asked to come into Boston today and go to the home base program, which is over in the Charlestown Navy Yard. Down. Hey, down. Good girl. Okay, all the cookies are gone. And they have a podcast called Home Base Nation, and they asked if I would come on the show today. So I sat in early morning Boston traffic this morning for the first time in quite some time, which was very strange because I haven't had to do that in a while, and got a tour of the facility and the upgrades since the last time I was there, which was very cool. And I sat down and recorded an episode of Home Base Nation. And as soon as the episode comes out, I will link it in my blog at mistresscarrie.com. And I sat down with General Jack Hammond, who is retired, but he was the commander when I was in Afghanistan in 2011. And so the producer of the show, Ron, and General Hammond, I brought them goodie bags with some Mistress Carrie swag today. And I made sure to give General Hammond a Cocktails in the War Room shirt. And he looked at the front and he was like, wow, I really love the logo. That's awesome. I love the hand grenade. And he turned it around, and I don't think that he had seen the new back of the shirt. I think he had seen the original don't lick anything weird and wash your damn hands shirts that we sold for charity. Sorry, Wednesday's going crazy back here. Hey, you get out of the way. Get. He hadn't seen the I'm just here for the blueberry cobbler shirt. He was the commanding general on the base during said blueberry cobbler incident, and he was dying laughing. And he was like, oh my God, that is hilarious. And so it was he didn't put the shirt on, but the commanding general from my trip to Afghanistan has now been gifted a blueberry cobbler t-shirt from the War Room. And I thought you guys would think that would be hilarious. But if you have not, I just want to put this plug in because on a serious note, there's been a lot going on in the news. Obviously, with the invasion of Ukraine, there is a lot going on in the news. And if you are in the military or a military veteran, some of the stuff that you are seeing on TV might bring back a lot of stuff from your years of service. And between the withdrawal of Afghanistan last year and now what's going on in Ukraine, between the Chechen mercenaries that Ukraine said today that they either captured or killed because they were on a mission to assassinate the president of Ukraine, and that was stopped. And then also the military coming from Belarus, and obviously the bombing and the shelling that's been going on by Russian troops. The news can be a triggering thing, and it's something that we talked about at the Home Base program. If you're not familiar with the Home Base program, it is a partnership between Mass General Brigham and the Red Sox Foundation, and they have the sole purpose and mission of treating the invisible wounds of war. They do the Run to Home Base, which is a 9K through downtown Boston. It finishes inside Fenway Park, and you actually finish the race by crossing home plate at Fenway, which is really cool. And they are also who I ran the marathon for in 2019. And so that was one of the things that General Hammond and I were talking about today, is how you could be fine, but then when something like this pops off and it's all over the news, it can bring things up. So if you, a loved one, a family member, a spouse, a child, whoever it is struggling with invisible wounds of war, whether it be a brain injury or whether it be post-traumatic stress. Sometimes it's the loved ones that notice the symptoms before the veteran themselves. The Home Base program is doing amazing things. They were talking to me about a specific program that is just for SOCOM. A lot of active duty guys, so Navy SEALs, Delta operators, MARSOC raiders that go in and can get treated for post-traumatic stress. They have a whole wellness check done, but they're doing amazing things for veterans. Now, when the Home Base program started, they were under the mission statement of post 9/11 veterans. Since their launch, which I believe was 12 years ago or something like that, they have opened it up to any veteran of any conflict or war. And it is a way for you outside of the military and the military healthcare system to be treated and protected by HIPAA. And so I just wanted to put that plug out there because they have an amazing staff. They have an unbelievable facility. It's literally, as soon as I walked out the front door today, Old Ironsides is like right there. So it's right in the middle of the Charlestown Navy Yard. And because of everything that is going on in the news, I wanted to really make sure that our veterans, our active military and their families, which by the way, Home Base doesn't just treat the veteran, they treat the spouses and they treat the family because they're the ones that are most affected by any kind of stress or brain injury on behalf of the veteran. I want to remind you guys that these places are out there, that they spend all year fundraising. They get corporate sponsors to be able to offer these services. And through all of the years of work that I've done with the Home Base program, the hardest thing that there is, it's not raising the money, it's not finding the staff, it's getting the veteran to take the step inside the door. Once they go inside the door, it's a game changer, but it's getting the veteran to the door. And I can't count the number of veterans that I know that have personally gone through there. It's an organization that's very close to my heart. They do unbelievable work. And so I wanted to put that plug out there because obviously as we go through the show tonight, there's just a lot going on. Just today alone in the news, a report came out that there have been 2,000 Russian casualties in this conflict so far. There have been numerous children that have been killed. Over 660,000 refugees have fled to places like Poland and Romania, and people are still trying to get out. There are a lot of Americans that are stuck there. I saw a story yesterday about a girl that is an Afghan refugee that sought safety and freedom in Ukraine. So last year, she escaped Afghanistan, and she is now running for her life again to get out of Ukraine. And there's just so much going on. I read an article today about all of these old ladies and grandmothers that A, refuse to evacuate their country, and B, are spending their time holed up in homes, in basements, and apartment buildings, making homemade food to feed the Ukrainian military. And the volunteers. And the president of Ukraine has opened it up that any military from anywhere in the world that wants to come and fight on behalf of Ukraine, they're creating a legion and people are going there. There was a story yesterday about a kid from Canada that just got on a plane and flew to, I believe he flew into Poland and then crossed the border into Ukraine to volunteer to fight. So there's a lot going on, and I don't think this story is going to stop anytime soon. The State of the Union address is tonight. Obviously, that is going to be the number one topic, I'm sure. And so I just want to make sure, we've been through 2 decades of war and conflict, going on 21 years now since 9/11. And our military and veterans have been through a lot. Their loved ones have been through a lot. And maybe you weren't bothered by anything before, but there's a lot of footage. There are TikTok videos and Instagram stories from people that are actually in Ukraine right now. And you might stumble on something that might upset you, even though you've never been upset before. So just make sure that you know what resources are out there. And if you know someone that could be in need of help and you don't know where to go, even if this is later down the line, I just want you guys to know that if you hit the contact button at mistresscarrie.com, that message goes directly to an inbox for me, and I can always email you links and make suggestions on some different veteran-based nonprofits that may be able to help depending on what kind of treatment and help the veteran is asking for. So that's what's going on. That's the sad note. The good note is between now and next week's War Room, my husband will be home. So if we're going to drink to anything and try to find a bright spot on anything, cheers. It's been a very long 18 months for his deployment, and he is going to be home between now and episode 174 of the War Room. And I'm very, very, very excited. So cheers. That's good. So before we get going with the show, how are you guys holding up? I'm trying to keep tabs on all of these comments that are coming in. Trina says, congratulations on your hubby coming home. Shannon says, woohoo. Yay, so happy for you too, says Paula. Will says, very cool. Congrats. Hubby coming back stateside, says Michael. Cheers to his safe travels home, says Donna. Thank you guys so much. Richard Fitz Jr. says cheers. Back CONUS or back in Mass. CONUS. He is coming to see me, but he's not getting out of the Marine Corps, so he doesn't get that long with me before he's actually got to report back. So he'll be CONUS, which is Continental United States, for anybody that doesn't know the acronym for that. Drinks for the hubby, says Mark. Is he coming in the War Room, says Carol? Probably not. It wouldn't surprise me if he kind of sat in here off camera, but when it comes to professions, let's just say that I think he and I found the professions that we were meant to do. He's really good at what he does. I would like to think I'm somewhat good at what I do. So I think he is probably going to stay behind the scenes, although he is asking me for tickets to see Jelly Roll because he really wants to go to the show. And we'll talk about that with the podcast coming up in a couple of minutes. Hello from Keene, New Hampshire, says Greg. What's going on, Greg? Starting to get warm down here, says William. Travis, hello. I will see you Thursday night, says Elsa. Michael says Conus is much better than not. Exactly. I live in Havre de Grace, says Stephanie. I don't even know. Did I say that right? Havre de Grace? I don't even know where that is. Trina says, I'm celebrating my 50th next week, so I will not be here. Grew balls and booked myself a trip to Orlando. I've never traveled out of New England, and I have never been on a commercial flight. I am so excited, a bit scared, but I'm doing it. So Trina, let me fill you in on this. News broke today that the public indoor mask mandate in Boston is going away as of Saturday. I wanted to tell you this because as we're talking about concerts, there are certain places where you are still going to be required to wear a mask. The airport is one of them because that's federal. Also, public transportation, you're still going to be required to wear a mask. I believe the library, you're still required to wear a mask. And also private businesses are still allowed to require masks for entry. So once again, I will remind you that as you are going to see a show, you always want to double check the venue that you're going to, whether it be the TD Garden, the DCU Center, House of Blues, the Palladium, wherever it is that you're going, go to the website. If you can't find it on their website, call the number of the venue. Most of the time they have a recording on the phone line that will tell you whether or not masks or COVID cards for vaccination are required. But as these mask mandates start to go away, thankfully, because the rates of infection and hospitalization and death are all going down, which is amazing, which is what we've been waiting for. And I know we've said that before on the show, but hopefully this time it sticks around. But it's a good idea to keep a mask on you anyway, because like I said, public transportation, the library, obviously the airport, and on aircraft, they're still going to require them. So you definitely just want to double check wherever it is that you're going, including traveling. Because if you're traveling out of state, another state may have stricter mask mandates or vaccination requirements that they don't have here. So you definitely want to double check. I also wanted to let you guys know Major League Baseball is at a standstill when it comes to the players union and ownership. And they announced today they're pushing back opening day, and we are going to lose regular season games for the first time in over 20 years. That announcement came this afternoon. So there's a lot going on with baseball. This is 2 years in now. We're getting ready in 13 days to celebrate the second anniversary of Cocktails in the War Room. And in those 2 years, we've literally been through everything. Will said, loved your Breaking the Ice appearance. It was priceless. So I need to put that up. I need to link it up in my blog. I'll do that when the show's over tonight. So Isaiah and Josh, former WAF coworkers of mine, and Mike Shue host this Breaking the Ice podcast. And they put up a tweet last week, and they were like, we can't find Mike Shue. They put up a link to a Zoom and said, if you're not doing anything, click into our Zoom. And I was like, there's no freaking way these guys are legitimately just letting people pop into their Zoom. So I happened to be sitting in MCHQ, had the microphone and everything ready to go. So I clicked the Zoom link, and all of a sudden I pop up in front of Isaiah and Josh, and I ended up crashing their podcast for like a half an hour. And I was like, guys, I need to go. I got to get back on the radio. Michael says AAA baseball is not included in the lockout. Woo Sox will start as scheduled, and it's going to rock. If you haven't been to a game at Polar Park yet, Woo Sox games are really fun. There's great food at the park. There's great drinks at the park. The sight lines are awesome. It's walking distance to pretty much everywhere. You can walk to the DCU Center. You can walk to a ton of restaurants and bars. The park is in a really convenient location. The tickets are cheaper. And if you're looking to bring the family to a game, sometimes Major League Baseball is too expensive, but the Woo Sox games, very family friendly. And yeah, it is going to rock. I'm happy to hear that so far that's not affecting AAA ball. So that's good. Sorry. It's not COVID. I've been talking since 9:30 this morning. When is Wednesday's birthday? That was a day I started listening 2 years ago. April 11th is going to be Wednesday's 4th birthday. So we had her 2nd birthday here in the War Room, right at the start of the War Room, with her giant balloon and all of that stuff. And so her birthday party is coming up on April 11th. So very excited about that. Let's see. Jen says, I wear mine, and also I had it when it first started, and I never got my taste and smell back. Jen, you had COVID that long ago and you still can't smell or taste anything? Are you serious? That is why when I talked to Sully from Godsmack and some of the other interviews I've done on the podcast, when people say, Carrie, you're being paranoid, COVID's not that bad. It's not a fear of death, although getting something that is in fact deadly is scary. But the idea that you could have gotten it 2 years ago and still not be able to smell or taste, she said, yes, it sucks. So Jen can't smell or taste anything for the last 2 years. What would you pay to get your smell and taste back? Like, I would hate that. I don't want COVID just because of that. Let's see. New mantra for all of us. Cough. It's not COVID. Exactly, Trina. Oh my God. April 11th. What a coincidence. That's not my birthday, says Keith. On birthday. Mistress, is there a concert in New Hampshire that you will come up to New Hampshire for? Hines wants to know. There's a bunch of shows that are coming to the SNHU Arena. Korn is coming. Breaking Benjamin and Seether are going to be up there. Those are shows. That's a great venue because there's great sight lines. It's not huge. It's walking distance to a lot of stuff in Manchester. So there are a lot of shows in New Hampshire that I would love to come to, but you guys know all of the extenuating circumstances. So obviously, if one of these shows is on a Tuesday and I'm on the air and can't make it up to Manchester in time to see the show, it makes it hard. But the list of shows that are getting scheduled for the Hampton Beach Casino, the SNHU Arena, the Pavilion up in, help me out, guys, up by the lakes in, oh my God, I can't remember the name of the town. You guys know the one I'm talking about. The outdoor arena up by Laconia. There's tons of shows that are going on and more shows getting announced all the time. Matter of fact, there's an announcement, Guilford, New Hampshire. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. Live Nation actually announced something today that I think is really cool because I've been telling you guys, I told you before the holidays, this is going to be the busiest concert year, I think, in history. They have twice as many concerts scheduled for 2022 than they had scheduled for 2019 before COVID. And so Live Nation made an announcement about something today that I think is very cool and I think really affordable. So we got to talk about that. But let me take a sip of this first. All right, let's get to the podcast stuff first. So last week, I told you guys that if you didn't know the name Jelly Roll, that you were going to know the name Jelly Roll after this podcast episode, and that if you went and listened to his music, you would become a fan. So episode 90 came out last week featuring Jelly Roll on the Mistress Carrie podcast. What'd you guys think? What'd you think of the music? It's a little bit country. It's a little bit rock and roll. It's a little bit of hip hop. Let's see. Jonathan says, awesome episode. These are the kinds of artists that that I want to be able to turn you guys on to if you don't know who they are. Heather says, was already a huge fan. Alexis says, great episode. Monica says, got to run up early. Good night, Monica. Get to bed. He's the first one not to name the Beatles as an influence. That is true. Although, didn't he talk about songwriting? When we were talking about the songwriting question, didn't he talk about the Beatles? I thought that he did. Elsa said it was amazing. Jen said I loved it. Let's see. Was that an Osmond reference? A little bit country? Come on now. I know who the Osmonds are. I had never heard of him if it wasn't for you, says Danielle. So these are artists that I think are really going to help usher in this new era of rock and roll, that are really combining sounds, combining influences. And there is this whole new wave of rock music. And when people say, oh, rock is dead, these are the examples that I cite and go, I don't think it's dead. I think it's changing. But change isn't all that bad. Heinz says, I agree with it. It was different. I listened to a lot of his music. Just got my tickets for Metallica May 29th, says Ralph. They're Metallica headlining the final night of Boston Calling. Jen says, Donnie and Marie. Let's see. My daughter knew Jelly Roll. Shinedown introduced me to Jelly Roll. He's a long time running. Well, we talked about him singing Simple Man with the band last year. He was so down to earth, loved hearing about his journey. So I wanted to read this to you. I waited until the episode was out, actually. So after the interview was done and getting ready to post, what I do is I always send the link to the people that helped me set up the interview, whether it be the band's manager, a rep from the record company, the tour manager, whoever it is that I coordinated the details with. And I always say, hey, if they wouldn't mind sharing the episode or whatever and tagging me in it, that would be awesome. And where? Oh, that's why. I was looking at Wednesday's Instagram. So I got this message. He sent me, so Jelly Roll slid into my DMs, said, hey, it was awesome meeting you. The episode, oh no, wait, that was me. Thanks again for having me. That was fucking awesome. An incredible conversation. Fuck, I forgot. I was recording a couple of times. The convo was so fluid and real. Anytime you got an opening, let me know. Can't wait to hang in April. That's the kind of a guy he is. He sent me a thank you note via Instagram to make sure that I knew that he appreciated the time, which was awesome. So rock is dead, as Marilyn Manson referenced. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Jelly Roll is awesome and amazing, says Heather. Don't lie, you were looking at porn, says Eric. It is classy, right, Tracy? Like, I thought it was really sweet that he, sought me out just to send me a quick little thank you. So I thought it was very cool. Let's see. Got an email from Odyssey telling me how I can listen to AF anytime, anywhere. How funny is that, says Dale. The stream, we call it Zombie WAF, but there is a music stream that you can still listen to that has all of the AF music, but it has no DJs. It has none of the fun craziness that you were used to. So it's just kind of there. You can also stream 100 FM The Pike, by the way. And The Pike has an app, and you can even tell your smart speakers to play 100 FM The Pike. And you can listen to Mike Shue every morning. You can listen to Chuck Perks. You can listen to me. It's like a whole AAF family reunion all over again. So, definitely a welcome distraction from the State of the Union right now, says Mark. Thank you. I know usually we do like a State of the Union drinking game, but I think everybody, just with everything that's going on in the world, I think we're just all drinking anyway. So Will says it has no soul. Exactly. Who is the music director for for AF? I have no idea. I have no idea who picks the music, who schedules the music. I have no idea. Heinz wants to know if the Pike has T-shirts. So what happened was when they hired Mike Shue and they started making it a little bit more rock and not so much like a classic hit station that played like Elton John and Billy Joel and stuff like that. Music I love, don't get me wrong. They also modified the logo of the Pike to like this guitar pick logo. And so when they did that, they had to upgrade everything from the bumper stickers to the jackets to the T-shirts. Like, everything. So I don't even have all of my swag yet, but they are making all of that stuff. And as we go through this year, they're definitely going to be making more and more stuff. The old Pike logo looked like the highway street sign. So it was like red, white, and blue. And now the logo is like yellow and black. So they had to order all new stuff. So stuff for the Pike is definitely coming. It just takes a while. You guys have been waiting for new merch for me. Everything is taking a long time. So it's not just me. I'm not a slack ass. Drink every time there is a lie told during the State of the Union. And that's a rule no matter who's in the Oval Office. And you can also drink at the rebuttal from the opposing party that happens after the State of the Union, because that's all going to be lies too. So do you want us to die? Keith says. Let's see. John says Friday at Feet Music Hall in Providence, Sepsis 1620, 6-1 inverter, Dead by Wednesday, plus special guests. There you go. That's a very cool show. I am drinking up. Careful, those are politicians. Your drinking instructions could be fatal. Jonathan says, I have a question regarding the Pike and MCHQ. How do you control the commercials in the music? Is there someone in the studio? Do you get the text directly? That's a lot of questions, Jonathan. I can tell you that I get the text directly. So anytime you text while I'm on the air on the Pike, you can text the text line and I get them directly. It's hard to respond to all of the texts because there's a lot going on, but I do get the text directly. And I am kind of in control to a certain extent when I'm in MCHQ about being able to kind of organize like commercials and all of that kind of stuff. There may be a time that I end up in the studio full time, which would be great because I miss kind of sitting in the studio, but I can't complain. I kind of like being in MCHQ too. So, but I can control pretty much everything. And yes, I get the text messages myself. So there you go. Drink every time there's applause and we need AA the next day. Yeah, I think so. If there are lips moving, they are lying, says Annette. You, a slacker, never, says Betty. All right, so I want to tell you who's on the podcast this week because I'm really excited about this week's guest. I've been telling you guys that not only do I want to keep you in touch with artists that I know you already love, which, by the way, in the next couple of weeks, there are a couple of those. Super excited about the guests that are already booked for the next couple of weeks. But I also want to be able to take the opportunity, like Jelly Roll, like some of the other artists that have been on the podcast before, to be able to introduce you guys to some new music. And when I say new music, this is a brand new band that literally did not exist before COVID. And this band has taken off in a way that I have not seen in quite some time. And I'm pretty excited about them. If you have not heard of Plush, you're going to hear a lot from these girls. These girls are all under 21 years old. 3 of them are from upstate New York. 1 of them is from Maine. They met through the internet during COVID, put a band together, got a record deal. They recorded an album with producer Johnny K, who has worked with everyone from Stained to Disturbed. Their record is now out. They were the opening act on the first half of the Evanescence and Hailstorm tour. And you heard on the podcast that the way Evanescence and Hailstorm agreed to do it was that Amy Lee got to pick the band that opened the first half of the Evanescence and Hailstorm tour. And Lizzie Hale got to pick the band that opened the other half. And so Plush opened the first half of the Hailstorm Evanescence tour. And then Lilith Czar opened up the second half of the tour. Plush right now is out on the road opening for Slash and will be at the show Monday night at the House of Blues. This band. So I interviewed Mariah Formica, who is the lead singer, and she has got some pipes. She plays guitar. The guitar player went to Berkeley. These girls have got the chops. And when I tell you there is this mix of familiar flavors in this new way, Steven says they are awesome. Jonathan says, I heard you talking about them on the Breaking the Ice podcast. Awesome. Saw them open up for Daughtry, says Denise. Jailbait would be a better name, says Brito. Come on now. That would make their fans plushy, says Tracy. Are they Stone Temple Pilots fans? Is that how they got the name? You know what? I didn't even ask her about that. But these girls weren't born during the grunge era. They were born in the 2000s, these girls, and they rock. And they have gotten, David Draymond tweeted about them and was like, bands like Plush give me hope for the future of rock and roll. There are a lot of bands that are looking at a band like Plush, that are looking at a lot of the other new bands that are coming up right now and going, A, there's some great new artists out there, and B, a lot of those new artists are women, which is, I talk about it in this week's podcast. I've talked about it in past episodes. The fact that women are such a driving force in rock and roll right now is making me so happy, because I always knew that there were a lot more female artists than we were hearing from. And I think it took all this time for generations of girls to grow up encouraged by their parents to pick up a guitar, to sit behind a drum kit, to play bass, to sing, and not sing because they want to become, Miley Cyrus and have a TV show, or to become Britney Spears, but sing because they want to become like Stevie Nicks, sing like they want to become Lizzie Hale, like to sing like that. And that is Mariah. And I can't wait for you guys to hear their music if you haven't already. There's some great stuff on the playlist of this episode. We talked about a lot of stuff. Alexis says, I feel old now. I was on the air at WAAF before these girls were born. What? Yeah. But they rock. And I am hoping to make it to the Slash show because I really want to see them live. I love the record. There's a lot of great stuff on there. We talked a lot about the recording process of the album, what it was like to work with producer Johnny K. It was just a really great conversation. And I love Mariah. I think she's really cool. And I am really looking forward to see where bands like Plush go. Trina says Kurt Cobain's daughter is dating Tony Hawk's son. It's grunge full circle. I know, it's crazy, right? Carrie, my good friend Liz Borden is managing a young, fresh, heavy trio by the name of Stormstress. You should check them out. I will, for sure. Walter, get the AARP card. You're not old until you've been put in the ground for a week. I agree with that. Let's see. Kitty. Yeah, there's another band. Those girls traveled with a parent because none of them were 18 when they got their record deal and went out on the road with Slipknot. They were touring with Slipknot. I went out on the road with Slipknot for a week, and Kitty was on that tour when the first Slipknot record came out. I think I did that. Did I ever tell you guys this story? Correct me and stop me in the comments if you've heard the story before. But after Slipknot played Loco Bazooka that first year, which is the YouTube video that you can see of me interviewing all 9 of them at the same time. So Slipknot was out on tour with Kitty opening. And I had a friend that worked at the record company, and Slipknot had like three shows in a row in Florida. And then I think they had a day off, and then they had a show, I think it was in Washington, D.C. I'm pretty sure it was D.C. God, I don't even fucking remember. That's how drunk I was. I think it was D.C. And then, so I was like, hey, to my record company friend, I'll fly to Florida. I'm going to take some vacation time. I'm going to come down. We'll follow Slipknot. And then I'll fly to D.C. I'll go to that show. And I think it was like one other show, but D.C. was the last show. And then I'll fly back to Boston from D.C. At the time, this had to have been 99, early 2000, but most likely 99. And so I went. I was doing nights on WAF, so I was on from 7 to midnight. So I took a bunch of time off. We went to Florida, and it was just a crazy party every night. This was in the craziest of days for Slipknot. With the original lineup, Paul Gray, obviously, Joey Jordison in the band, Chris Fenn, the percussionists, the original lineup. And so then I said bye to my friend, and I flew and met the band again in like DC. And then I think that was the last night of the tour, if I'm not mistaken, was in DC. And they were like, you can't miss that night. We're going to have a crazy party. So I go to the show. We all go back to the hotel. And my flight was at like 7 a.m. in DC to come back to Boston. And Paul Gray walked me to the taxi with my stuff. We had been up all night partying. Walked me to the taxi, got me in the cab to make sure that I was safe to go to the airport. Chivalrous, the guys from Slipknot. I fell asleep by myself in a taxi in Washington, D.C. and woke up at the airport. Somehow, this is pre-9/11, somehow I made it through TSA and all of that, got on the plane, landed at Logan. Now, I had left my car at the radio station, and this was when AAF, it was like a little over a year, when we were on Huntington Ave next to the Pru. I had left my car at the radio station and taken a cab to Logan. Land at Logan, and it was early. Maybe they put me in the cab. Maybe the flight was at 6 a.m. because I got into the offices of AAF long before the bosses. And I was still shit-faced, even after the flight, like almost staggering drunk. I can't think of a time where I was more drunk than that week with Slipknot. Anyway, I didn't have an office. I had a cubby back then. And there was no way I could drive home. There was nowhere for me to go. The Hillman morning show was happening in the studio. It was early in the morning. I broke into my boss's office, like climbed up over the door, through the drop ceiling, got into his office, curled up on the couch in his office, and passed out. My boss comes into work, and this was when John Osterland was the music director. So they both had computers that controlled the music in the studio. My boss comes into work. It was like a Monday morning, opens the door. It smelled like the Slipknot tour bus in his office. My boss closed the door, turned the light off in his office, went into Ozone's office and worked in Ozone's office because Ozone was on middays back then. And then Rocco and Birdsey were on in the afternoon and I was on at night. I woke up at like noon and I had no idea where the hell I was. There's my boss in Ozone's office working. And I was like, oh my God, he didn't yell at me. He just said, what happened? And I said, Slipknot. I totally forgot about this story until now. So I tell him Slipknot. He says, whatever, okay. Now I am like 2 days of like, I got in my car at like noon. I drove all the way home to eat, take a nap, take a shower, and drove all the way back into Boston to do my show that night. That I should have just gotten a hotel, but I just didn't even think of it. I just drove home and came all the way back freshly showered. And Rocco and Birdsey were like, did you really break into Dave's office and pass out on his couch? And I was like, yes, I did. So there you go. There's another classic AAF story for you. I did die on the couch. It was brutal. Richard says, yes, you have told this story, but you're clear because it was very early on. See, I can't keep track. There's been 173 episodes of the show. It's hard for me to remember what stories I've told you guys now. We call it going full LB, says Mark. It was an absolute blast. It was so much fun. And obviously looking back at it now that we've lost Joey Jordison and Paul Gray, those early days. And this is before camera phones. I had a Qualcomm. This was either in the Qualcomm cell phone era with the retractable antenna, or it was my Razr flip phone era. I don't know which one, but we didn't have camera phones back then. So I have no pictures of, thank God, of some of the stuff that happened. So booze coming out of your skin, says Jeff. What a safe space. Jonathan says, first time hearing it. Tim says, I miss those days. It was my life listening to all of you. Listen, there are very few things that were exaggerated. Usually the stories were just crazy enough and they were true. I mean, we didn't have to exaggerate. The stories were crazy already. I remember the end, you saying Slipknot. Yeah, Slipknot. So I guess the moral of the story is anytime somebody catches you doing something fucked up and they're like, what happened? Just go Slipknot. So there you go. So that's episode 91 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. Mariah Formica from Plush. The episode goes live at midnight. And don't forget, not only do you get the weekly episodes, but you also get the sit rep. So Monday through Friday, all your rock news, music headlines, industry info, everything you need to know in 5 minutes. And you can start your day and go through the headlines and stay up to date with all of the concert announcements and everything else that's going on. Also want to remind you of all of the places you can listen to the podcast. And if you still haven't been able to figure out podcasts, all you have to do is go to mistresscarrie.com, because all the episodes are there with embeddable players, and you can just hit play on any of the episodes that you want to listen to, and it's all right there. And obviously, we are sending love to Ukraine and to the 130 countries that have listened to the Mistress Carrie podcast so far. Canada, once again, being the number 2 listening nation behind the United States. All right, so there's a lot going on when it comes to shows. I told you there were a lot of announcements today, so let me run down some of them for you. The Offspring are headed to the House of Blues on the Let the Bad Times Roll tour. The date is May 15th. Tickets go on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. That show's been added to the events calendar at mistresscarrie.com. Also announced today, Blondie and the Damned are going to be at the Leaderbank Pavilion in the harbor on August 14th. That show has been added to the calendar. This is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. Live Nation made this announcement today, and if you want to see the article on the announcement and see the entire list of artists that are participating in this, I tweeted it out this afternoon, so go to my Twitter feed at Mistress Carrie. Live Nation is launching something called the Lawn Pass today. They went on sale today. A Lawn Pass is $199, and they are good at 30 venues, including the Xfinity Center in Mansfield and the Xfinity Center in Hartford, Connecticut. What the Lawn Pass gives you is lawn access to all of the participating concerts on the list. And the list is varied. Sammy Hagar, Slipknot, whoever is playing these venues and are participating, like the Foo Fighters are on the list, but they're not playing at the Xfinity Center in Mansfield. There's 28 other venues that are on this Lawn Pass list around the country. And so it depends on who is playing at the venue you buy the Lawn Pass for. But it's $199, and you can go to all of the shows that are on the list. And the list is long. So Michael says, hey, where can I listen to the podcast? Shut up, Michael. I just have to remind you because people are always getting new podcasting apps, and the podcast is everywhere. Go to my Twitter feed, check out the link. I was going to copy and paste the list of all of the bands, and it was so long that it didn't fit. And when I finally squished it down to like make it fit right here above the Cocktails in the War Room logo, the print was so small that I didn't think you guys were going to be able to read it. But the list is massive. And I thought, you know what? We've been talking about how busy of a concert season this is going to be. And we've been talking about how expensive it would be to try and go to all of those shows. And I thought $199 is still a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. But to have the ability to be able to maybe go to some of the shows, to see bands that maybe you kind of want to see, but you would never spend the money on a $50 ticket, not knowing if you like the band enough. And if you get this pass, you could just be like, we don't have any plans tonight. I'm just going to go to the show because it's free for me now because you got the pass. Trina says, wow, I need a lawn pass. Michael says, podcast. You do a podcast? Where's the cocktail book you used to have? Eric wants to know. It's up in the cabinet here in the war room. And you know what? We should start bringing the drink recipes back. Keith, what's the name of your podcast? Trina says $199 is tickets for 4 shows. Depending on the tour, it could be less than that. You could spend $75 a ticket on one show. 2 people go, it's $150. For another $50, you could go to 29 more concerts or whatever. I thought it was really cool. They're not paying me to advertise this in any way, full disclosure. I just know that money is tight, and I'm really trying to help a lot of these artists that have been really hurting because of COVID. Obviously, we've been all stuck in the house, but the artists have not been able to get on tour and be able to make any money. And so this is kind of a win-win. It's an affordable option if you're the kind of person that likes to go to a lot of concerts, and it's going to help. Just remember, no dairy, gin, or eggs. Tracy said, I'm going to bring the drink recipes back. We're going to do that next week. Let's see. She gave me the finger, victory. So I thought it was really cool. Like I said, I wanted to fill you guys in on it. If somebody wants to go into the article and copy and paste the list of all the bands and put it in the message, that would be awesome, because there are, it's an impressive list. And there's a lot of newer rock shows, and then there's a lot of legacy artists too, that maybe you love all that music, but you never would have necessarily wanted to go and see them. Now you can. So there you go. Sorry, my phone was just beeping. All right. So then, of course, there's the shows you guys already know about. Korn and Chevelle with Code Orange at the Dunkin' Donuts Center in Providence on March 16th. That show's coming up fast. The SNH2 Arena on March 19th. Those tickets are on sale. Judas Priest has 2 shows coming up next month at Mohegan on April 2nd. The Songus on April 4th. Green Day, 21 Pilots, and Bring Me the Horizon within the last 3 days have all announced that they have canceled all of their shows in Russia. They've also canceled shows in Belarus and obviously Ukraine. And a lot of bands, so many bands, have been tweeting support for the people of Ukraine and also sharing photos of the last time they played Ukraine and played in Kyiv. And every single photo I have seen, from a band like 3 Days Grace to a legacy artist like Paul McCartney, the crowds are massive because these European audiences love live rock music so much. And to see all of these rock bands standing together with the people of Ukraine, and boycotting playing shows in Russia, which, like I was just talking about, these bands have been waiting to do these tours. It costs the bands money when they cancel these shows because bands sign contracts. And like we heard from the South American Metallica concerts with Greta Van Fleet that got postponed because of COVID, the insurance policies that they have on these shows don't necessarily cover everything. So if a band decides to boycott a country, unless there's some super smart lawyer that puts some super small fine print in the contract, these bands are canceling out on massive paydays to not go to Russia and play these shows. And they're doing it out of principle. And I think it's pretty cool. Let's see. Dee Snider has also come out in support of the people of Ukraine using We're Not Going to Take It because they were using it a lot. And he has been very vocal when that song has been politicized by political candidates. And people asked him about that on Twitter. Dee Snider does not pull punches on Twitter. He lets you know exactly how he thinks and exactly what he feels. And he came right out and said there's a total difference in, a political candidate trying to benefit off of the show and my show being used as a battle cry for a nation that just had war show up on its doorstep. And so he is 100% in support of the people of Ukraine and them using his song. Lots of new music. New Shinedown, Planet Zero, coming out April 22nd. New Red Hot Chili Peppers, Unlimited Love, coming out April 1st. New Hailstorm, Back from the Dead, coming out May 6th. There is a bunch of other shows. We were talking about Slipknot. What happened? Slipknot. The Knotfest Road Show. Have you guys listened to that Corey Taylor CMF B-sides yet? The Corey Taylor cover of Eddie Money Shakin', I think, is my favorite one out of all of them. They cover John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band. They cover Metallica. But the Eddie Money cover for me, I think it's my favorite. Breaking Benjamin and Seether are going to be with Starset at the SNHU Arena. Speaking of New Hampshire shows I would love to go to. Typo, the tickets are on sale. God damn it. Drink. Typo. Those tickets are on sale now. Pussifer at the House of Blues coming up June 28th. And if you like the podcast, Jelly Roll is headlining the Palladium on April 1st. All of these shows are on the concert page at mistresscarrie.com. Just go to the calendar. An announcement came from the Dropkick Murphys after the War Room show last week. We know about the shows that they have scheduled at the House of Blues on the 17th, 18th, and 19th, and the show at Roadrunner on the 20th. They also made the announcement a few weeks back that singer Al Bell is dropping off the tour because his mom is ill and he's staying home to take care of her. The new part of the announcement is that the Dropkicks are going to be live streaming the show on St. Patrick's Day starting at 9 o'clock, live from the House of Blues. And that live stream is also up on the events calendar at mistresscarrie.com. Speaking of the House of Blues, Royal Blood will be there on May 24th. And speaking of Beatles, Ringo Starr and his all-star band, they have a massive tour and they've got shows everywhere. Boston, Worcester, Guilford, New Hampshire, Providence, Rhode Island. I think they're even playing Tanglewood, which is crazy. Papa Roach has their Kill the Noise tour rolling into Mohegan on the 24th of this month. Today, Papa Roach announced the name of their new album. It's called Ego Trip, and it's coming out next month on April 8th. Mammoth WVH and Dirty Honey, that show is March 26th. And another leg of the Hailstorm tour got announced today, and Mammoth WVH are going out on that leg of the Hailstorm tour. Jerry Cantrell is going to be at Big Night Live, just like Mammoth WVH and Dirty Honey, and Turnstile is at the Palladium in May. Speaking of Tanglewood, the Black Crowes are going to be there as well, and those tickets go on sale March 10th. Tool are re-releasing Opiate for its 30th anniversary, and they are streaming a new version of Opiate, which is my personal favorite Tool song, and so that is streaming right now. And I also want to put a plug in for Record Store Day because there is a ton of music coming out on vinyl, special edition, limited releases, and so many different artists are releasing stuff in support of independently owned brick and mortar record stores. And that is also up on the events calendar. And the list of stuff that you can get that day, the exclusive releases for Record Store Day, is really long and very impressive. Somebody commented and wanted to know who was on my shirt. It says Ghoul Gang, and it's all my favorite bitches. Elvira, Bride of Frankenstein, Morticia Adams, Munsters, all of the hot goth bitches. So let me tell you the story about this shirt. My t-shirt collection has gotten to the point where my closet is bursting at the seams, and I had a collapse of stacks of t-shirts in my closet because I have these shelves, and the t-shirts are usually folded uniformly and stacked by type. So I have sports t-shirts, I have military t-shirts, I have a whole stack of AAF shirts from over the years. I have holiday shirts, so shirts just for Christmas, just for Halloween. I have a lot of concert shirts, motorcycle concert shirts, charity concert shirts. Like there's just so much stuff in there. And I had a massive collapse, and I am still cleaning it up. And I found a bunch of shirts I forgot I had, and this was one of them. And I love it. So there you go. I suppose I should pick all those t-shirts up before the husband gets home. Okay, I want to remind you guys about the big gig, by the way. It is coming up fast. It's the end of next month. It's March. It's coming up at the end of April, finally. Godsmack, 3 Days Grace, Black Veil Brides, Wage War, and Lilith Czar at the DCU Center. Very excited about it. Another plug for Tomes. You can still get a month for free if you sign up for their 7-day trial and then email them and say, I want to take advantage of the Mistress Carrie deal. And you can also still get 20%, even though it was a Christmas discount. They are still offering 20% off of everything that you buy from Spartan Brews Coffee, which is veteran run. And the code that you need for it is in my blog at mistresscarrie.com. Mail call, because I was in Boston today at the home base program. I never had a chance to check the mail today, so I will have to do that next week. My apologies. Also want to remind you guys, speaking of independent record stores, you can get Mistress Carrie merch at Joe's Albums. There's a location in Worcester right around the corner from the DCU Center and literally like 6 doors down from the Palladium. So if you're going to a show in Worcester, go a little early and go browse over at Joe's Albums. Mike Shue was shopping, I think, yesterday. He put up a picture from inside the store on his Instagram. And I also want to remind you guys that the new vinyl transfer decals are in the store, and also the Mistress Carrie pins are in the store as well. And we are designing new merch as we speak. If today is your birthday, Keith, it's not your birthday. Roger Daltrey is celebrating his birthday today. Kesha is celebrating her birthday today. And I saw this and I was like, fuck my life. Justin Bieber, this is his birthday, and he was born in 1994. We don't need to say anything else. Something new for a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass. So if you don't have one yet, you can get them on Patreon. You get exclusive live streams every month. We actually did one this past Sunday. I totally spaced on how short February is. And knowing that my husband's coming home this week and everything else that's just been crazy, I hit up everybody on Sunday afternoon and I was like, holy shit, the month is over. Can we get together tonight? And so we did our exclusive live stream Sunday night, and it was great to kind of reconnect with everybody. You can also submit podcast interview questions, which I have started giving you credit for and asking artists directly for you in the podcast interviews. And you also get shout outs in the episodes as well. When I go on trips, which I'm going to be able to do a lot more of this year, you get travel blog updates. You get early access to event tickets. You also get exclusive concert ticket giveaways. And all of these tickets, if you already have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, you have access to Pussifer tickets, Breaking Benjamin tickets, Royal Blood tickets, Not Fest tickets, and Korn tickets. And I wanted to offer this up that the next 5 people that get Mistress Carrie Backstage Passes will automatically get a pair of tickets to see Korn, Chevelle, and Code Orange coming up on May 16th in Providence, Rhode Island. So if you went and got a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass right now, the first 5 people that do that are automatically going to get an email with a pair of tickets to go and see Korn. So there you go. And finally, want to remind you of all the places you can find me online. But you guys know this already. All the links are at mistresscarrie.com. You know where I'm at. I'm on the air every afternoon on the Pike. I do want to give a little bit of a shout out that today I was on the air at AFN for the first time. And so I want to say what's up to all of the military personnel in 168 countries and on 150 Navy vessels that have access to AFN, which is American Forces Network. And it's all the different music stations that our troops have access to while they're stationed around the world and at sea. And they're able to listen to the rock show that I do on Westwood One, and they can listen to me on AFN. And today was the first day. And if you have ever seen like Good Morning Vietnam, it has just always been a goal of mine since I went to Iraq in 2006 to be able to be on AFN. And I started today and it was awesome. And so I want to say what's up to anybody that may be listening, because I gave a shout out to Cocktails in the War Room. And it was pretty cool. It's very weird. There's a lot of, time changes, obviously. And there's just people scattered all around the globe, and especially with everything going on, to be able to offer a little bit of home entertainment to our troops that are deployed. It's an honor for me. So really, really excited about it. So that happened today. Eric says, I want to give a shout out to all my friends, Elsa, Brianna, Annette, also Karen, Trina, and David. You guys are giving shout outs to each other. Christina, not every Tuesday is a play date day. So, dude, you forgot me, said Keith. Let's see where the backstage pass is. The backstage passes are on Patreon. So you got to click the Patreon link. So, let's see. So what's the name of your podcast? It sounds like you've done this before, this whole rock thing. You guys are fucking wound up tonight. I like the ball busting, don't get me wrong, but you guys are all wound up today. And I've been up since 0 dark ass crack today because I had to make it into Boston like during regular commuting hours today. So I've been up super, super late. What about me? Michelle says, is there any way for us to hear your AFN show? I don't believe so. Unless you're in the military and you're on one of these bases. Did you get my package that I sent 2 weeks ago? Carol, I guarantee you that it's in the mail right now. And I'm a slack ass and ran out of time. I literally was possibly driving a few miles over the speed limit to get back from Boston and get on the air this afternoon. So I was not able to get to the post office. So I promise you that I will get there. Carrie, I don't always have time to listen. It sucks. But when I do, I like the first sip of iced coffee in the morning, or maybe the feeling of munchies and milkshakes in Hull on a hot day. Yeah. The coffee first thing in the morning is key. The drinks at night are key too. 20 days till my birthday, says Eric. I have been up since around 5. I do it every day, Monday through Thursday. Elsa, good on you, man. The problem for me is that I'm a night owl, and I always have been. So I was up until about 2:30 this morning editing audio. Then I went to bed and was up at like 6:30. And so I'm tired. Just what it is. Rachel wants to know what kind of tea I like. You know what? I like a lot of teas. I love lemon tea. Blueberry tea is really good. Rose tea is good. I'm trying to think of a flavor of coffee or a flavor of tea that I don't like. If it's a caffeinated beverage, I'm kind of all over it. I do love like the apple, like apple tea that you can drink warm, like in the wintertime. The wellness teas, like I have a ton. Anybody that like passes out at my house after a party or whatever, they get up in the morning. Not kidding, I have an entire cabinet that is filled with tea bags, loose tea, special teacups that have screens for loose tea, French press, and I have probably got, I'm not exaggerating, 30 to 35 flavors of coffee. I have decaf in there, which I don't know why, but I have all of my teas and coffees because I am a psycho in mason jars, all labeled and organized, so that when people come over, and I have multiple like little French presses. So I'll ask like, what kind of coffee do you want? And they're like, well, whatever. And I'm like, no, tell me, I'm going to make it just for you. I have a coffee problem. You guys know this about me. And tea is the same thing. It's good to keep caffeine-free stuff in the house too. There's a lot of family and a lot of my mom's friends that come to visit from time to time. And so it's nice to be able to offer people, Star Trek reference, Michael Voorhees, tea, Earl Grey, hot. Sean wants to know what my favorite donut is. It's messy as fuck, but I love the lemon-filled donuts with the powdered sugar on the outside. Oh, so good. I love the blueberry one that looks like a blueberry muffin. Chocolate frosted, the chocolate honey dipped. Again, jelly. It's really hard for me to find a donut that I don't like as well. There's just too many of them. Eric says, hi, Wednesday and 0. Wednesday is off somewhere, and 0, it's not play date time. Caffeine-free heresy. Coffee and tea problem is not really a problem, says Trina. I know, but and oh my God, the stroopwafel donuts. I totally forgot about that. So good. I'm not the biggest Boston cream fan, believe it or not. I like them, but the lemon filled with the powdered sugar, I like lemon stuff a lot. But Michael says tequila trumps all. Fact. That cabinet sounds like heaven. It's not a problem. It's only a problem for those that don't have the love for caffeinated beverages. It is kind of cool though, because I love it when people come over and they're like, ooh, that sounds good. Like the blueberry cobbler coffee you guys bought me. It's delicious. It's unbelievable iced. And I've had so many people that have come to the house and have been like, have you tried the blueberry cobbler coffee yet? And they're like, no. And I'm like, you need to try it. I actually have a friend in North Carolina that has me send it to them because they don't get the New England coffee roasters down there. If you could have, Sean, were you asking me if I could have anything in the world, what would it be? Are we talking material things, or are we talking about philosophical, like world peace and health and happiness and eternal love? Like, what are we talking? I miss the lemon and the blueberry donuts. So good. Especially the one from Panera. I like to eat. I'd probably be 30 pounds lighter if I didn't like to eat so much. But you know what? None of us are getting off this rock alive. And if we learned anything over the last couple of years, be healthy, take care of yourself. But if you want to eat a fucking donut, eat a donut. Okay? Live your life. Just don't eat all the donuts. Just eat a donut. Let's see. I miss the hot, sloppy blueberry cobbler. If you guys had seen General Hammond's face today when he saw that t-shirt from the War Room, it was fucking priceless. Betty, do I like wine? I have the same rule about tea and coffee as I have about wine. I like them all. I have been to the fanciest restaurants. I have gone out with famous musicians, record companies where they just threw a black card down and had the sommelier come over and they sniffed corks and paired wines with food. And I've drunk. I've had wine with a screw cap. I've had wine in a box. I've had wine that an ex-boyfriend's grandfather stomped with his dirty feet from grapes he grew in the yard. All of it. Wine is the thing. I love all of it. Although I will tell you this. Red wine. White wine is my kryptonite for Superman. White wine makes me white girl wasted. Staggering, sloppy, Slipknot drunk. I don't have any idea why. No other alcohol affects me the way that white wine does. So I try not to drink it in public because it's usually really sweet. And it's usually in the summertime when it's hot, and I usually drink too much of it, and then I can't get home. So yeah, but red wine, like I love it all. I've gone wine tasting, pairing it with chocolate, like just all of it. I love all of it. All right. I think we're done. Are we done? So between now and next week, I'll let you guys know when he's home. Super excited. You guys have been on this ride with me since March 14th of last year, and obviously have been here through the announcement about my engagement. You were the first people to see the pictures from my wedding, and you guys have been through the whole thing about when I said goodbye to my husband at the airport, the ups and downs of an 18-month deployment that was supposed to be a 12-month deployment, and even though the news is as sad and scary as it is, I hate to be selfish and focus on the fact that I get my husband back, but I need to take this win for myself right now. The last couple of years have been hard just because of everything going on between work and COVID and family. And to finally get my husband in the same time zone, we've been operating on a 9-hour time change for the last year and a half, which has been hard. And for the kids to be able to see him and to be able to just get him back home again. I'm going to take this little win and savor the time that I get with him, because as I talked to General Hammond about today at the home base program on the podcast, the experience that I had overseas with our troops gave me an idea of what their experience is like. But it has taken this relationship with my husband to put me in the spouse's seat, to be the one home waiting for my loved one to come home from a deployment. And it is a completely different experience. It's very hard at times. It's like death from a thousand cuts. Your life doesn't get any easier because they're gone, but you lose that support system and that other person that can help you around the house, that can be there when you have a bad day. And my husband has been amazing and so supportive and been there for me through all of the craziness that's happened over the last 18 months. And being able to go and visit him was amazing. And I'm so happy that I had that opportunity to see that part of the world. But I'm really fucking excited that he's home. So if I can get you guys one more sip before we end the show tonight, to everyone that has experienced the joy of being at an airport and hugging a loved one when they return safely home. And obviously to all of the families that are missing their loved ones. We got a lot of troops that are getting sent overseas that are in countries in and around Ukraine. We even have had troops up until a week ago in Ukraine. There was a National Guard unit in Ukraine until about a week and a half ago training the Ukrainian military, and they got them out of there when all of this stuff was going on. So we have a lot of troops in that region, and a lot of families are scared. And so sending our love to them as well. Thank you guys. Cheers. Have a great rest of your week. Thank you for joining me on episode 173. And don't forget, episode 91 of the podcast goes live at midnight. And keep your eyes on my social media, because when he's home and he lands and I have a pizza in my hand for him, and he wants cold Yingling beer because he hasn't had it in a year and a half, I will let you guys know. I love you guys. Thank you for all the love and support. Love to everyone in Ukraine. Please stay safe. And I will see you guys next week.